Welcome to Give Me 5 Minutes, WTM Africa's on-site podcast where we capture the pulse of the show floor. Joining me today is Anton, the Managing Director of EcoTraining. Welcome, Anton.
Thank you very much, Andela. It's a pleasure to be with you.
I'd love to know from you, how can the travel industry reset guest expectations before a trip so that travelers embrace uncertainty and authenticity without losing excitement?
I think that's a very interesting opportunity. I think because the world is so fast moving and tends to follow trends, we might have lost touch with the individual and the moment. And I think perhaps if from the marketing, sales and delivery of the experience point of view, we take time to find out what the individual might like or would like to experience. So firstly, matching interests with activities would be a good start, rather than selling what we perceive people might be chasing or might be interested in pursuing. So a very honest and sincere engagement with people on an individual basis to try and get their hearts and minds expressed in the experience that they pay for. And then I think once you're on the ground, in the case of safaris, which I'm involved in, or safari guide training, would be to introduce them to the beauty and the biodiversity of nature, so that the complexity and all nature's offerings are in fact beautiful and fascinating. The slower we go, the more interactive our experience is. Our souls and our senses can combine into a real experience rather than a tick box safari and trying to get too close and moving from one sighting to another. Replace sightings with experiences. Go deeper and wider rather than further and faster. And I think if you harmonize the individual's interests and what nature's offering on the moment, then your experience will be exponentially much more meaningful.
That's beautiful. A follow-up question for you. In the world that's completely driven by social media, how do we shift towards real, unscripted experiences rather than the more staged and curated moments?
I think, again, if we start off with social media being part of media, it is an abstract representation of reality. And we need to sort of be discerning about that people's Instagram shots or even wildlife documentaries are a snippet of the overall picture. So again, to take time to appreciate that not everything is one continuous wildlife documentary or one continuous optimal visual experience, that it should actually be about taking time. And how do we do that? Well, I think just check in our human values. We're busy, we want to be validated, we want to be appreciated, and seeking these sort of Instagram shots might give you that temporary satisfaction of validation, but actually knowing that you belong in a bigger system where biodiversity is represented by all shapes and sizes, all beautiful creatures, from butterflies to birds, from eagles to elephants. I think if we understand the complexity of that and we take our time around that, people will find their calmness, their space, and then a more in-depth experience. So getting away from the visual and the superficial to getting into the personal and the heartfelt. Therein lies the opportunity for a change. How do we value that though? You know, if you pay good money to go on a good safari, you have certain expectations. I'm all for having a good look at a lion and an elephant, but it should be done so gently and should be done so timelessly that it's just part of the journey. It's not rushing past termites and tortoises on the way to a big five sighting. Those animals can actually be as interesting as a bunch of smelly yellow lions lying in the tree, under the tree in the shade of the tree, doing nothing. So I think we need to be childlike in our adventurous nature, that we can let down our guard, trust professional guides, and then take our time to just enjoy the full spectrum of what nature's about while offering those big game experiences in a sensitive and ethical way, but they should just be part of the journey, not the purpose of the journey. Purpose of the journey must be about immersion, about relaxation. Philosophically, where do we belong? I think we belong in nature. It doesn't matter what your culture is. We were connected to nature quite closely not long ago.
Absolutely.
And that's why we seek that wilderness. And I think that peace and harmony is more important than seeing lions sleeping under a tree. However, we can also see lions sleeping under a tree while being amazed and bedazzled by the biodiversity of nature. And that should be taken in little sips, one step at a time.
That's incredible. Thank you so much for reminding us about how we go back to being true and authentic in the way we travel and being ethical, to keep, to be mindful when we travel about how we put ourselves out there.
And natural, right?
Yeah.
Natural. I've got a little baby girl. She's 2 years old, and she's all about sensory. She's picking things up. She's putting things in her mouth and smelling them, and all of that stimulus also activates different parts of us where we can have a true experience rather than a superficial experience. So to be abstract or superficial is denying yourself the true depth of your holiday or of your safari. So if you take time and stop, you can hear more. If you go gently and rest in the shade, you'll smell interesting things. So now you're activating the full natural interaction between humankind and our natural environment where we belong anyway. Don't miss going home to nature while rushing past it, right?
Yes. And don't forget to sink your feet in the grass every once in a while to connect with nature.
And in the sand and in the mud.
Exactly.
Yeah, and let's go and have a mud fight.
Anton, thank you so much for joining us. We hope that you enjoy the rest of the World Travel Market.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a great pleasure to be here.
Some places need to be experienced. Others need to be felt. At Orange Orbit Productions, we create cinematic lodge and tourism content that captures the essence of your destination, from sweeping landscapes to intimate details and authentic moments. Through both video and photography, we don't just show your location, we tell its story. Orange Orbit Productions. Inspire the journey before it begins.